One of my favorite meals to make because it's easy when I'm busy, I don't have to think about it, and there's so many varieties of ways you can make it. So simple, sheet pan meals. Let's go ahead and head to the kitchen. Let's get started. I'm starting with my most favorite sheet pan meal, and that is with bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs. I absolutely love this. I've done this so many ways. You're gonna see a couple of those ways following this one. And right now I'm just slicing up some zucchini and I'm slicing up some carrots, and I also have some red and white onions. I also love to use fresh herbs when I can, and for this recipe I'm using fresh chives, I have thyme, and I also have some fresh parsley, and I'm going to chop all of that up very finely and sprinkle it all on top of my vegetables. And now I'm ready for my chicken. I'm going to use my bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs, and I am going to take those fresh herbs, and not only am I going to cover the chicken, but I'm also going to get it underneath the chicken skin, adding more flavor. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt and some oil on top, and I'm going to cover the skin over the herbs, and I'm going to sprinkle more herbs on top. Now this is ready to go into a 450-degree oven for at least 30 minutes, and you want it to get up to temperature 165 degrees at a minimum, and it comes out so perfect. That skin nice and crispy, the vegetables all roasted and delicious, and I just love how easy this is and how you can have so many different variations, including this one here where I made it with radishes and carrots and onions and peppers. And another time I roasted Brussels sprouts with the chicken as well as baby potatoes, and I just served it with a little dipping sauce, and this was so good. I love how this turned out. And then a budget-friendly take on this is chicken drumsticks. They are more reasonably priced, perfect meal, and this time I did sweet potatoes with zucchini and mushrooms. You can use any herb, any vegetables. Chicken thighs and chicken drumsticks are the way to go for budget, but it is so fabulous. I make this all the time. This next sheet pan meal, I'm using ground beef, or you could use ground pork or ground turkey, but I'm gonna make mini meatloaves. And I'm starting with 1 pound of the ground meat, and then 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, as well as 1/4 cup of almond flour. I'm adding 1 egg, and then I have this ketchup, homemade ketchup that my husband made. I'm using about 1/4 of that, and then I have some chopped onions. I'm adding that, a little bit of salt, and I'm just going to mix this by hand until I have it all thoroughly combined, and then I'm going to form it into little meatloaves. I was able to form it into 7 small little loaves, and now that I think about it, this was probably 1.5 pounds of the ground beef. And to go along with it, I am using baby potatoes, red potatoes, and I just cut them in half, adding a little drizzle of olive oil, some garlic powder, and some onion powder, and a little bit of salt. I'm just going to shake that so all the seasonings get coated on those potatoes, and I'm going to dump that right onto the pan. I'm going to make them face side down, flesh side down, so that way they get nice and caramelized. I'm going to now add some asparagus that I've trimmed the ends of, and I'm going to sprinkle on some Italian seasoning. Then I'm going to add a little bit of the garlic powder and a little bit of salt. Now it's ready to go into a 400-degree oven for about 25 minutes. Out of the oven after 25 minutes, I am going to take the rest of that ketchup and I'm going to spread it all over half of the mini meatloaves. And then on the others, I'm going to spread on some Japanese barbecue sauce that I had. I'll put that on a couple of these other loaves, and then I'm going to top my asparagus with some chopped grape tomatoes and also some shredded Parmesan cheese. Back into the oven until that cheese is all nice and melted. This turned out so delicious. The melted cheese with the potatoes and the asparagus, those little meatloaves were so yummy. Now let's do a sheet pan meal with pork. I have these pork steaks, and we're going to use my favorite seasoning, Cavender's. It's an all Greek seasoning, and we just love it. We use it all the time. We're going to sprinkle that on the pork steaks, and I also have here on the sheet pan red onions, those baby potatoes again, and asparagus.
So one of the things I've started doing with sheet pan meals is to beat my oven temperature. I like to get it all prepped on the sheet pan, ready to go before my temperature of the oven ever raises to the 450 degrees, sometimes 425. I like to beat it and be done, because then I know I've completed it in less than 30 minutes and it is going to all cook at the same time. I actually love this. I also love the cleanup. I might have had a cutting board. That's about it. And then cleanup is a breeze. Ready to go into my oven at 425 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. And here they are, all done. I'm gonna flip them over and I'm gonna add some sauce. I'm gonna add a little bit of that barbecue, Japanese barbecue sauce to just one of the pork steaks. And we're gonna make the other two without it, but I'm going to just kind of mix everything up, put it back in the oven for just another 5 to 10 minutes till that barbecue sauce kind of caramelizes on that pork. And everything is done. It looks so good. That smells amazing with that Japanese barbecue sauce. And I sprinkled on a little bit of Parmesan cheese at the end as well. Everything looks and smells amazing. Now we're going to make one of my other favorites, which is fajitas. I love just taking some chicken tenderloins, cutting them in strips, also cutting an onion and some peppers. And I'm adding some chipotle seasoning as well as some Tex-Mex seasoning that I had, and some cumin and some garlic powder. That is what is so great about sheet pan meals. You can use those herbs and seasonings that you don't know what to do with or are wanting to use up. This is perfect to experiment and try new things. So I cook my fajitas in the oven, 425 for about 20 to 25 minutes, and everything is cooked, and I'm gonna put it in a tortilla. I already took a couple bites and I serve it with some avocado and some cheese on top, and it is so good, so easy. And on another occasion, I've done the same thing, but with shrimp. And I used frozen that I've defrosted in the fridge, and I've added a green pepper, a red pepper, and an onion. Put them in the oven for 375 for about 15 to 20 minutes. They don't take as long, and look at this. So yummy, the perfect fajitas. This is the way to do dinner. Quick and easy, all cooks at the same time, and you have such a meal. Throw some tortillas, some cheese, whatever toppings you like, and you are set. I just love it. Now I'm gonna show you another sheet pan meal, this time with seafood. I'm starting with a full sheet pan here of fresh kale. Then I have here a jar of cream cheese filled sweet peppers, and I'm using the oil from the jar, and I'm gonna sprinkle it all over the kale. And I only have a few of the peppers left in the jar, but I didn't want that oil to go to waste. So I'm using that, and then I'm gonna add some sliced red onions that I had left over, and I'm gonna add that on top. And then I'm going to add my tilapia fillets. These were frozen, I defrosted them in the fridge, and now I'm just laying them out on the kale. And I'm gonna add the rest of that oil from that jar of the picante peppers, and I'm just gonna dump those peppers on the kale as well. And then I'm gonna top these tilapia fillets with this red pepper and artichoke spread that I had. And I got this from Aldi, but I think any like sun-dried tomato or red pepper spread is going to do so well on here. I'm spreading them out evenly on the fillets, and then I'm going to top that with Parmesan cheese, shredded cheese on top of each of those. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle some salt and olive oil all on the kale, and it's ready to go into the oven. I will cook it at 375 for 15 minutes, and it turned out so perfect. It is flaky, and that cheese is nice and melted now, and the flavors and aromas of that red pepper spread and all of the red onion and everything together is so good. I just loved how this turned out, and it was so easy. One more seafood sheet pan meal. This time I'm using salmon, and I actually put this in my air fryer on the roast setting, and I put it on a bed of kale with red onions again. And for my salmon, I just coated it with some Dijon mustard and then sprinkled on some citrus seafood seasoning. That's all it took, about 10 to 15 minutes in my air fryer, and it was delicious. I love sheet pan meals, as you can tell. I hope you enjoyed these. If so, give it a like. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that bell, because that's how you'll be notified when I make future videos. Leave a comment letting me know which is your favorite sheet pan meal. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.